Good afternoon, friends. Hello, hello. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Do an audio check here. Real quick. Hi, friends. Hi. Hope everybody's having a great day. Be with you in 1 second. Hopefully my audio is doing good. Good afternoon, everybody. P. Fox, good. Hello. Good to see you. Eddie, hello. Good afternoon. Whatever time it is where you are. Always good to see you. Thank you for being here, Eddie. Leah, you're listening at work. I hope great day, Leah. Listen, darling. Jackie, hello. How are you? Kissy times 3. Hello. How are you? Reed, hello. How are you? Who am I missing? D. Hello. Jazz King. Hi. Backwoods. Hello. I'm cutting out. Of course I am. Hang on. Testing. 2, 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check. Audio is a bit snippy. Damn it. My audio is still choppy. Hang on. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Beckles. Audio is still choppy, eh? That's better. Better. Can you hear me now? Ayantu, hello. Lady Leo, hello. Welcome on in, everybody. Good now. Better. I know Eddie will let me know, that's for sure. Okay, hopefully better. It gets a little snippy, sorry. For fuck's sake, good afternoon, darling. Hi, right brain. P, hello. Where's my Mercy Cat? So, Mercy Cat, you have to go find a video. Just leave a comment. Doesn't matter. It can just be an emoji. I put Mercy Cat, and then maybe I did it wrong. So go leave a comment somewhere in a video, and I'll make sure that you get modded because I meant to mod you, Mercy Cat. TN Sapphire, hello. How are you? Kylin, hi. Everybody got a blankie, a coffee? You snuggly? Wade Bird, hi. I'm snuggly with a blanket and a coffee. And I figured maybe what we'll do today is I noticed that when I ask questions or when I point something out and then I ask questions to it, there's certain people who think my questions are statements of fact. And they go ham trying to knock on me, right? But it's okay. So for anybody who is a little bit confused about any of my recent posts regarding whether or not this sheath was swabbed at all, we can get into why I may be asking that question, right? Because, last I checked, I'm allowed to ask questions. I'm allowed to look at something and say, interesting. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are saying, well, yeah, they said in the transcript, they testified that the inside of the snap was swabbed. Well, yeah, no shit. That's the point. They testified to it, and then that came first, right? The testimony came first motion in limine came second, right? So, get into a little conversation about why I think, the defense is getting at here. Something tells me the swabber, something about the swabber's account of where they actually swabbed. Maybe it doesn't line up with the state's account of where it was swabbed. That's just my opinion. I'm allowed to have that opinion, but I'm not pulling that opinion out of my ass, right? It's not something I'm just, tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, maybe. No, it's in their own footnotes. It's in their own footnotes. So it sounds to me like what they did is they got them on the stand first. They got them on the record first as to the precise location. And if you remember correctly, Riley Nolan, even in the testimony, had to correct herself, right? To say, oh, yeah, that's right. The top wasn't swabbed because fingerprints, right? Meg P, darling, you will be right back. No problem, honey. Come back whenever you want. So, I just notice every time I ask a damn question, people get it confused. They think I'm doing like a statement of fact or something. No, I'm just reading the document. I'm asking some questions and I'm saying, what the fuck? James Moen, how you doing? Ms. Pottage, how are you? Welcome on in. Get to some Nola, New Orleans lady. Oh my goodness. Hello, darling. The original deep diver right there. You want to know anything about that damn trash and whether or not they should have been inside the private gated community of the Koberger parents collecting trash and placing cameras on the private property? Nola there knows all about that. The original deep diver. Paco, hello, how are you? If there's any of you I missed in chat, sorry. Hopefully my audio is better now. Lady Speedwell, hello, how are you? I think when it comes to the swabber too, we'll see, even with Riley Nallen's testimony, that the swabber needed some guidance, right? Where to swab. So this sounds to me like maybe the swabbing was done at the actual scene after the item is photographed before it's bagged and tagged. Maybe your forensics is doing a little bit of swabbing, collecting some swabs right there at the scene, right? So, anyways, hopefully this isn't going to be a long one. I just kind of wanted to point out that, let's remember the testimony in the sealed hearing came first, right? So that's kind of the point, that yes, they're testifying these precise locations of the sheath were swabbed and X, Y, and Z were found. Correct? Q11 allegedly is from the inside snap. That's what was testified to, right? So, Batsheet, hello. Quality Emerald, hello. Welcome on in, everybody. So I'm thinking where we'll start is kind of the point that I'm getting at here. When it comes to the sheath, so we can go look at the, where do I want to start? Start here. So, the whole reason I asked the question and even posed the question, was the snap ever swabbed at all, is because right here in footnote 3, so footnotes 1 through 4, right, are very interesting because we're talking right off the rip relevant facts and you're just getting footnote upon footnote here, right? Let's start at number 2 because the state has indicated that these terms, okay, touch DNA and what's the other one they got her here for? Contact, right? Touch and contact. Those have implications. You're trying to assert this person touched or contacted the item. When we all know, when it comes to transfer DNA, especially 0.168 nanograms of DNA. That sounds like classic secondary transfer. Now, footnotes. The whole point of why the question is being posed is because after you get Matthew Gamet, Riley Nolan, testifying about XYZ with the sheath, we're swabbed, blah, 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 what was taken. Okay, I don't think we need to go through the whole damn transcript again. If you do need to go to the transcript, refresh yourself, go look at Riley Nolan's testimony, go look at Matthew Gamet's testimony, go look at the other one there. Leah Larkin also gave testimony, if I remember correctly, regarding this shit too. The purpose of today's live is for this right here. Footnote 2. The exact location of the sheath is unclear in both photographs of the room and in the written description of its location. The body cam footage of one of the first officers on scene shows the sheath tucked under the covers next to Miss Mogan. Footnote 3. While item Q11 was tested for DNA, it was never subjected to standard biological testing for the presence of blood or saliva. In one exchange of emails, Riley Nolan described the swabbing as being of the leather strap and internal metal area of the snap. The snap itself may not have been swabbed at all for DNA. The defense has no ability to retest based on the fingerprint process on the sheath. Footnote 4. The other two male profiles identified in the ISP lab reports as unknown B and unknown D were never ran through CODIS or subjected to IgG testing. The defense has never received an explanation as to why these two male profiles were not further investigated. So, in my opinion, what it looks like happened here is they got Riley Nolan on the stand to talk about swabbing, where it was done. First, she said it was on the top portion of the snap and the internal, and then she had to correct herself and say, no, my bad. Top was never swabbed. And here, Becca Barlow's saying, actually, the snap itself may not have been swabbed at all. Now, the reason I posed the question, if the snap was never swabbed at all, for example, they have the swabber's notes, everything the swabber did, and the swabber is saying they were told not to touch any part of the snap inside or out because it was going to be used for fingerprinting, then where did you obtain the 0.168 nanograms of his DNA? Oh, Beckles, darling, it's right there. Motion in limine number 6 regarding Riley Nolan and reference to touch and contact DNA. Good morning, AR. How are you? So, there you go. Thanks, Fitzy. She's got it right there. Good morning, AR. So when I posed the question, if the snap was never swabbed at all, it's not because I just made that up in my brain. It's right there in the document. I didn't write this document. These are not my words, right? The reason I posed the question is because if the defense team here has notes, reports, testimony from this swabber claiming that they did not touch any portion of the snap because they were told not to, that it was going to be preserved for fingerprint analysis, then you could not have obtained his 0.168 nanograms of DNA from the inside of the snap. Right? Just throwing that out there. It'll come down to, when we obviously get more, but it would appear what happened first was they got Riley Nolan and some of these people from the ISP lab on record first about, yep, this is what was done, this is how it was done. And now they're coming back with their motions in limine, like, now that we got you on the record saying that, actually, it would appear the snap itself may not have been swabbed at all for DNA. So, my question is still valid. It's not me claiming that the snap was not swabbed. It's in their own document, and I'm just posing questions based off of what they're saying. It sounds like what they did is they got them all on record first so they could come back with these motions in limine. They're giving incorrect. They're giving testimony, and the testimony is inaccurate. Just my opinion, right? So, I mean, if you're gonna, at the very least, if you're gonna tell me that I have a reading comprehension issue, right, or try to besmirch my intelligence, at the very least, you should probably figure out exactly, what you're doing first before you do that. Because I didn't just pull it out of thin air as to whether or not the snap on this sheath may have been swabbed at all. I'm asking that question because it would appear here from their own footnotes. Yeah, we understand she testified to this. However, the snap itself may not have been swabbed at all for DNA. Now, if that's true, that's very interesting. Because if you never swapped the snap inside or out, why are you claiming that's where you found the single source male profile? Was on the inside of the snap. Hey, Swamp. Hi, honey. How are you? Welcome on in. Exactly, Fitzy, right? You also have Corporal Brett Payne testifying in that same hearing as Riley Nolan that it was never, ever, ever conveyed to him by anyone, ISP or FBI. No one ever told him it was actually Brian Koberger's DNA on that sheath. According to him, that was never conveyed to him. So, it's very interesting. I just wanted to bring this up to point this out. If anyone's confused as to some of my latest posts and why I am posing the question as to whether or not the snap itself, inside or out, was swabbed at all, the reason I'm posing the question is because it's right here in footnote 3. Now, I was wrong. It's not footnote 2. My bad. It's footnote 3, ho. So go read it, right? That's all I'm saying. My bad. I told you to go read footnote 2. Oopsie poopsie. It's footnote 3, bitch. Go read it, right? That's kind of all I can say to that. And it's not too far in, right? You're right there on page 2. You don't even have to get too far into the document, right? I mean, footnote 2 is very interesting as well. The exact location of the sheath is unclear. Of course it is. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? Footnote 3. While item Q11 that's allegedly the profile, single source male profile, allegedly Koberger, from the inside snap. Q11 was tested for DNA. It was never subjected to standard biological testing for the presence of blood or saliva. In one exchange of emails, Riley Nolan described the swabbing as being part of the leather strap and internal metal area of the snap. The snap itself may not have been swabbed at all for DNA. So it's not me just making it up. Okay. So, Lux, what up? Welcome on in, Lux. How are you? Why be so nosy? Hello. Right. So, you know, it's not me making it up. I didn't pull it up. It's right there, page 2, in the footnotes. Okay. It would appear here that Bicabar are aware that these people came and testified in this sealed hearing as to the swabbing, where it was done, etc. And just maybe, I'm just speculating, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know shit, no facts here. But it sounds like the defense is getting at here as well. Yeah. Okay. Something about the swabbing, describing the swabbing. Well, snap itself may not have been at all. Okay. So if the snap itself was swabbed at all, where did you get 0.168 of DNA? That's my question. It's just a question based on if the snap itself may not have been swabbed for DNA. Well, if science is able to show through the swabbers' testimony that no, didn't touch snap at all actually. That's going to be how you going to say you got the profile from the inside of the snap, right? It's just interesting. That's all. So, like I said, I just wanted to start here first because apparently footnotes are hard. People love to take things out of context. They don't listen with their ears actually on. They're only listening so they can respond. They're not actually listening to listen. They're just listening to respond. So let's go through these footnotes again, just for clarity. We're going to get some clarifying cards here on these footnotes. I know you'll like that one, Fitzy. Let's get some clarifiers here. Footnote 2. The exact location of the sheath is unclear in both photographs of the room and in the written description of its location. The body cam footage of one of the first officers on scene shows the sheath tucked under the covers next to Ms. Mogan. Footnote 3. While item Q11 was tested for DNA, it was never subjected to standard biological testing for the presence of blood or saliva. In one exchange of emails, Riley Nolan described the swabbing as being of the leather strap and internal metal area of the snap. The snap itself may not have been swabbed at all for DNA. The defense has no ability to retest based on the fingerprint process of the sheath. Footnote 4. The other 2 male profiles identified in the ISP lab reports. Sidebar, it wasn't the defense who identified. So for everybody saying, oh, the defense just went in there and their investigators collected old blood and nope, dumbasses. This was identified by ISP. It's in their own lab reports. The other 2 male profiles identified in the ISP lab reports as unknown B and unknown D were never run through CODIS or subjected to IgG testing. Interesting. So you allegedly have 0.168 nanograms of transfer trace DNA, allegedly from the inside snap. But here, male blood B, male blood D never ran through CODIS or subjected to IgG, but the 0.168 nanograms, that immediately had to be put through IgG, huh? Interesting. Very, very interesting. So, again, not me coming up with this information out of thin air. It's right in the documents. OCD Shaggy, hello. Official, what up? Welcome on in. Where's Twiz? Oh, Twiz, hi. Good morning. Thanks for being here. So, it's very interesting, huh? So, ISP in their own lab reports identified male B blood, male D blood. Never did anything with it. They get pain on record saying, oh, well, the reason we didn't pursue those other bloods is because we already had Koberger's name. And, because you can only put one profile at a time into CODIS from a crime scene. Right? Well, we already uploaded the sheath profile into CODIS. And if you put another one in, it's going to kick the other one out. Right? Isn't that what he testified to? So let's just try and keep in mind that the sealed hearing and the testimony that was given there, this is when the motions in limine come after. They got them all on record claiming this outlandish shit. Know what I mean? Well, yeah, even though we had these other men's blood in our scene, this 0.168 nanograms of trace DNA was our main concern. And, we can't put more than one profile into CODIS at a time. Sky, hi, honey. How are you? Christy, Nevada, welcome in. Cold and Covered, hello. Everybody, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Thanks for being here, guys. 137 of you watching. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs down. So, anyways, now that we got that out of the way, let's go over the footnotes, make sure everybody understands why I'm asking the question, was the snap ever swabbed at all? It's not me asking that question. It would appear the defense here is asking that question. It's not even a question. It's a statement. They're saying the snap itself may not have been swabbed at all for DNA. So, nope, didn't pull it out of my ass. Nope, didn't misunderstand what I was reading. Nope, not dumb. Know what they testified to. That's the point. That's actually the point. They testified to it already. No takesies, backsies. Stop sharing that. I'll leave that up just in case I still need that for reference purposes. All right, so. Next. What was the next one? All right, sorry, I got a lot of tabs open. Hang on. Okay. Gonna have to cover this one again, too. Because, why not? Let's just go over this one again. Sorry, it's all highlighted and shit. This is for me. It's for when I mark things up. It's not for you guys. This is totally for me. Sorry. All right. Hope everybody's having a good day. Let's just cover this one again. So, this document here is going to be your defense motion in limine 2 regarding vague, undisclosed expert testimony. The main reason I wanted to cover this one is for number 8, Eric seat. Like, take a seat. Like, literally take several seats. Number 8 on the list here. So this is the state. The state has disclosed to the defense that this is their list of experts. Okay, we've got Riley Nolan, we've got Michael Douglas, we've got Mr. Cox, we've got, all these other people. Okay, we're going to go down here to number 8. Eric Seat. The expert opinion of this DNA technician provides an explanation of possible testimony regarding a methodology for DNA testing known as YSTR, for which the defense has received no discovery or indication that the method has been used in this case. Meaning, well, that's strange. You want to call Eric Seat to talk about this? You want him to testify about his methodology of YSTR testing that he did, but yet there's nothing in your discovery that this method was even used. Interesting. Thank you, State. There is no opinion disclosed other than, quote, because of the large volume of discovery, the state directs the defense to summary reports of the expert's ultimate conclusions, meaning, defense, we don't know where to tell you to look for this shit in the discovery. Best place we can tell you to look to get summary reports of this expert's ultimate conclusions, you want to go look lab report 3. The state directs the defense to summary reports of the expert's ultimate conclusions, which can be found in lab report 3. Well, would you looky here? What's lab report 3? Well, lab report 3 is DNA data of an alternate suspect, but no ultimate opinion or result is specified. So they included the lab report that shows YSTR testing was done by this Eric Seat person. Okay. Testimony through this witness, other than that relating to an alternate perpetrator, must be prohibited. Right. Because you can't call him to come and give expert testimony to anything other than what's disclosed in the discovery that he did, which would be his own lab reports. And his lab reports, well, it shows DNA data of an alternate suspect. Right? So, again, not me making it up. Not me misunderstanding anything. What they're claiming here is that, yep, the state told us, if you want to know anything about this Eric Seat expert guy that we're calling, I don't know, man. Discovery's a shit show. You're going to have to go look at lab report number 3. Best place we can tell you to look. And when the defense goes to look at lab report number 3, Eric Seat's lab report is DNA data of an alternate suspect. So now the defense is saying, well, okay, great. You want to call him? The only thing he can testify to is his own lab report and anything relating to the alternate perpetrator that his testing was leading him to or pointing him to. Right? I mean, if I'm wrong, that's fine. We're all wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm reading it right. So yeah, it's another one here too. It's interesting. We have Riley Nolan in her own separate one, motion in limine number 6. We'll look at that. That's the one we've gone over many times. That's the one where you're going to find the language about the blood on the back of the sheath, mixed sample, etc. Let's see here. This guy. Nicholas Ballance. Before I get to this, just want to point out, right? So I'm asking the question here. The whole point of the live was the sheath swabbed at all? Well, here's how I'm looking at it, right? If you're the defense and you know, okay, wait, the swabber's saying they never touched the snap, right? How did they even get how are they saying this is where they recovered this single source? You know, it would appear for a very long time. I'll just cut to the chase. It would appear the traps were set a long time ago, and that sealed hearing just kind of, you know, ensnared those in the trap, if you want my opinion. If they know his cell data proves he was absolutely not anywhere near that house when these crimes were committed, they know it, they can prove it, their experts are sure of it. If Cy Ray and Tom Slavinsky are 100% sure, they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt with Brian's phone and phone data he was nowhere near this house when the crime occurred. And in fact, you could not have obtained this single source male profile from the inside of the snap because the snap was never swabbed. Holy shit. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. It's going to be wild. Ro, darling, hello. I don't know. Pretty wild, right? Because you're looking at it like, oh, okay, well, we know for a fact this motherfucker wasn't there, which is why in the state's latest filing, which we'll get to, they're saying, well, see, the defense isn't even denying it's his DNA on the sheath. Well, yeah, no shit, they're not. No shit, they're not. That's how transfer DNA works. What they're arguing is that you had all of this other blood in the middle of your scene and you ignored it. And you focus solely on the 0.168 nanograms of transfer trace DNA when you had other people's blood. That's going to be the argument. It's going to be up to the state to have to explain why. What do you think a jury is going to think when they hear, wait, what? So wait a minute. He doesn't match the blood recovered from the sheath. They may not have even gotten his DNA from the snap at all. He doesn't match the DNA for the fingernail clippings. He doesn't match male blood B. He doesn't match male blood D. He doesn't match the hairs recovered from the crime scene. Imagine what a jury is going to think. You know what I'm saying? Are you kidding? I don't know how any juror could sit there and be like, well, yeah, it must be him, right? Fact of the matter is, it's going to be really easy to show a jury too how what the defense is arguing is that your perpetrator transferred his DNA. It's a higher probability that the perpetrator transferred Brian's trace DNA to the object rather than Brian directly making contact with the object. That's actually a higher likelihood. and it would appear amongst the forensic DNA community. That would be the consensus amongst most of them, that you wouldn't even focus on this minuscule amount of trace transfer DNA that could have ended up there at any time by any means, when you have all of this other blood and hair, etc. So, you know, that's going to be the argument. Of course, they're not going to deny it's his DNA. It's transfer DNA, it's trace DNA. Any one of us has our trace DNA literally in someone's house right now. We've never been to their house. They picked up our DNA at the store, at the gas pump, whatever, and they brought it home. And now your DNA is in someone's house you've never been to. It really is that simple. That's how easy it works. Your DNA is on an object you've never touched in someone's house you've never been to right now. Big facts. Especially if you were out running around, running any errands, if you're one of those people who touches everything in the store. Okay? Young black economist, hello. Bitsy. That's why you don't let anybody touch the potamus. Well, you get what I'm saying, though, right? You know what I mean? It is what it is. This isn't hard to understand. It really is settled amongst the people in the forensic DNA community that trace transfer DNA, because it is so unbelievably difficult to determine the how and the when of how it got there, when it arrived, how long it's been there. Especially if you have other blood. You would only rely on that if you have nothing else, usually, right? If you have literally nothing else. But, I mean, you have all these other blood samples and hair and shit in the middle of your crime scene that you're matching. You're trying to match to this transfer trace profile, by the way, right? So they feel that this trace profile is pertinent enough that they're trying to compare male blood B, male blood D, the hairs, the fingernail clippings. None of it's matching. Yet they're not going after any of the other blood. Male B, male D blood. Not pursued in any way. So it's very interesting. Now, Ballance is funny because Ballance here, for everyone who's like, oh yeah, Nicholas Ballance is going to be the state's expert. He's going to destroy Cy Ray. Well, let's get into this here. Number 2 on the list. Again, anyone not sure where this is, defense motion in limine, number 2, page 3, number 2 on the list. FBI Special Agent Nicholas Ballance. Testimony must be prohibited as no report. Sounds like Moscow PD. No report containing findings or opinions has been produced. So you're going to call Nicholas Ballance as an expert, even though no report containing any findings or opinions from Nicholas Ballance has been produced. The only disclosures from Nicholas Ballance, well, from the state by Nicholas Ballance, are 2 PowerPoint presentations. One is noted as a draft. The PowerPoint depicts information derived from cell tower data, call detail records, drive test data, and interpretation of the same. It is abundantly clear that in creating this PowerPoint, Special Agent Ballance used an unknown methodology to analyze and visualize certain data contained within the defendant's call detail records while omitting and or ignoring other relevant data. It is impossible to determine why certain data was included in the PowerPoint while other data was omitted and or ignored, as Special Agent Ballance has produced no report documenting his actual analysis. The omitted, ignored data referenced above is exculpatory evidence in Mr. Koberger's defense. The call detail records in full provide partial alibi corroboration. As such, the complete lack of disclosure as to any opinion and or report addressing this issue from Agent Ballance makes it impossible to anticipate what he may testify to as an expert on this matter. In its expert rebuttal disclosures, State provided a summary of Special Agent Ballance's proposed testimony. Portions of this summary are in direct conflict with his previous PowerPoint disclosures. Further complicating Mr. Koberger's guesses as to what his testimony may be, Mr. Koberger's expert, Cy Ray, has conducted a detailed analysis of Special Agent Ballance's PowerPoint and found severely flawed findings that are well outside of established and known best practices in the field. The PowerPoint is vague and makes it impossible to determine what Special Agent Ballance is claiming. And then it says the additional summary does not remedy the lack of disclosure, leaving Mr. Koberger an inability to prepare and meet the constitutional protection of confrontation, blah, blah, blah. So how are you as the state going to call someone here from the FBI that you claim as your expert when this expert has produced no report containing any findings or opinions? He has conflicting testimony with his PowerPoints. And furthermore, when the experts hired by the defense, it's not just Cy Ray, we also have Tom Slavinsky, don't forget. The two of them are saying, well, when we looked at all this, it would appear the omitted and ignored data by Ballance, once you have all of the call detail records in full, it would actually provide partial alibi corroboration. So this omitted and ignored data here, right, is exculpatory to Mr. Koberger, allegedly. And according to, Cy Ray and Slavinsky, when you have the full call detail records, it's clear, right? Mr. Koberger's expert, Cy Ray, has conducted a detailed analysis of Special Agent Ballance's PowerPoint and found severely flawed findings. So, if they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt he's nowhere near this crime scene at all when they claim he was and when allegedly these crimes are occurring, it's going to be really difficult. How are they going to ascertain that, especially if we find out that the snap itself on this sheath was never swabbed at all, inside or out? Well, then where the fuck did you get his 1.68 nanograms of DNA for your Q11 profile? And why are you ignoring all the other blood at the scene? But you're so concerned with this Q11 profile, you're comparing it to everything, hairs, nail clippings, etc. You're trying to see if male blood B and male blood D match Q11. And when you find out that they don't, just ignore it. It's not his, fuck. It's not his blood, damn it. It's two different other dudes' blood, damn it. Ignore it. It's very, very interesting when you kind of look at the chronological order of things here, in my mind anyway. I just have lots of questions. And, I think it's a valid question that I'm asking here because it's in their own footnotes. That the snap itself may have never been swabbed at all. At all. Which, if we find out is true, Well, holy guacamole, right? Wouldn't that be very interesting? Where did you get his profile then? Because you didn't get it off the inside snap. If the inside and outside of the snap were never swabbed, I'm just saying. If we find out that the swabbers reports there's something that would make the defense believe, well, in actuality, the snap may have never been swabbed at all. My guess is swabbers' actual reports and or deposition. I do know the upcoming hearing is going to be absolute fire. Right? You get what I'm saying, right? It's just a question. I'm not, this isn't me saying it, it's from their own documents. I just noticed that, lately, no matter what I say, even if I'm just asking a question, there's some people out there who have a really hard time in differentiating what a question is, what a statement of fact is. They'll take your question and try and say it's a statement of fact. I mean, no, it's a question based on the actual document. And in their documents, they're saying, well, the snap may have never been swabbed at all. Interesting, right? So that was kind of the point here of today's live. Just wanted to show the actual document, where you can find it. It's right there. You don't even have to go far into the document. Page 3, I think. Footnotes 2 through 4, right? Which one was that again? Motion in limine number 6. Just bring it back up again. There we go. Right? There we go. Now it's right there. For anybody questioning, oh my goodness, what is wrong with her? Where does she come up with these silly questions that, she just misunderstands everything. Gosh, Annie, why are you so dumb, Annie? You just misunderstand everything, Annie. Well, while item Q11 was tested for DNA, it was never subjected to standard biological testing for the presence of blood or saliva. In one exchange of emails, Riley Nolan described the swabbing as being of the leather strap, an internal metal area of the snap. Right. So it's in her emails, and that's what they got her on record for. So her emails say, internal metal area of the snap. And then her testimony in the sealed hearing, oh yeah, outside and inside of the snap. Oh no, oops, I misspoke. I meant just the inside of the snap. And then here comes the defense saying, well, actually, now that we got you on record, thank you. The snap itself may not have been swabbed at all for DNA. Something tells me, when you're playing chess, right? What are you doing? You're not just thinking of your next move, you're thinking of your next 5, right? Usually. Just saying. Footnote 4. The other 2 male profiles identified by ISP and in their lab reports, right? So male B, male D are identified in the ISP lab reports, meaning this wasn't the defense team's forensic investigators who found this blood in the crime scene, and they're trying to just associate, random blood at the scene that has no relevance to the crime. This is blood that was collected by the ISP forensics team, and the team felt the blood was pertinent enough to test. And they developed 2 male profiles. The other 2 male profiles, identified in the ISP lab reports as unknown B and unknown D, were never run through CODIS or subjected to IgG testing. So you have the 0.168 nanograms allegedly from the inside snap belonging to Mr. Koberger, but you also have this unknown male B, unknown male D, both are blood, and you make sure that this tiny little 0.168 nanograms, you do whatever you need to do to produce an STR for CODIS, but the 2 bloods, the 2 unknown bloods that aren't matching the 0.168 nanogram profile, those you don't also run through CODIS and IgG with your 0.168 nanograms. Why no STR developed for unknown male B blood and unknown male D blood? You developed an STR profile for the transfer trace DNA, but you didn't develop an STR profile for CODIS on the 2 other bloods. Interesting, right? So, hopefully, my questions, my thoughts, right? Some of my posts make a little more sense, hopefully. This helps. The documents are all right there. I don't really know what else to say at this point. It would appear the defense is well aware that the snap may not have been swabbed at all. And if so, we have a big problem because where'd you get his profile then? If it didn't come from the inside of the snap, where'd you get his profile? Maybe that's why the latest filing from the state, it talks about how they've agreed that neither side is going to do anything with we're not going to talk about the IgG. Right? I don't know. It's very interesting when you think about it. Now, other 2 male profiles. So ISP is identifying these other male profiles, and they're only pursuing the 0.168 nanograms of DNA, and they're not pursuing any of the other blood at the scene. So while they're creating the STR on the 0.168 nanograms of trace DNA, they could have also just as easily created STRs for unknown B blood and unknown D blood, and they didn't. Right? Wild. Absolutely wild. There's more we'll go over later. Just wanted to cover this today. I have some things I need to go get done. Mods, love you. Mercy Cat, if you catch this on the replay, you need to comment on a video somewhere so I can mod you, darling. I thought I already did it. But yeah. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for giving it a listen. Hopefully, you understand why I'm asking the question I'm asking. Was the snap actually ever swabbed at all? And leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Make sure you leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Catch y'all later. Hope you have a great day. See you later. Catch you around. Yeah. Bye, mods. Love you. Have a great day, guys. Bye, mods.